The former CEO of fashion giant Abercrombie and Fitch and his British partner have been arrested and are facing sex trafficking charges. Mike Jeffries, his partner Matthew Smith, and the couple's alleged middleman were arrested on Tuesday morning. The FBI and prosecutor's office are expected to announce more details at a press conference shortly. Lawyers for Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Smith have both previously denied any wrongdoing by both men. Responding to the latest news, Mr. Jeffries' lawyer told the BBC, "We will respond in detail to the allegations after the indictment is unsealed and when appropriate, but plan to do so in the courthouse, not the media." A lawyer for Mr. Smith has been approached for new comment. Abercrombie and Fitch declined to comment on the latest developments. The FBI opened an investigation last year after the BBC revealed claims that Mike Jeffries and his partner sexually exploited and abused men at events they hosted in their New York residences and hotels around the world. A BBC investigation found there was a sophisticated operation involving a middleman and network of recruiters tasked with recruiting men for the events. Following the BBC's reporting, a civil lawsuit was filed in New York, accusing Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Smith of sex trafficking, rape, and sexual assault. The lawsuit also accused Abercrombie and Fitch of having funded a sex trafficking operation led by its former CEO over the 2 decades he was in charge. Under U.S. law, sex trafficking includes getting an adult to travel to another state or country to have sex for money, by using force, fraud, or coercion. Confirming the arrest, Brad Edwards of Edwards Henderson, a civil lawyer representing some of the alleged victims, said, "These arrests are a huge first step towards obtaining justice for the many victims who were exploited and abused through this sex trafficking scheme that operated for many years under the legitimate cover Abercrombie provided." The unprecedented reporting of the BBC, coupled with the lawsuit our firm filed detailing the operation, are to credit for these monumental arrests. This was the result of impressive investigative journalism. In its investigation, the BBC spoke to 12 men who described attending or organizing events involving sex acts run for Mr. Jeffries, 79, and his British partner Mr. Smith, 60, between 2009 and 2015. The 8 men who attended the events said they were recruited by a middleman who the BBC identified as James Jacobson. Mr. Jacobson, 70, previously told the BBC in a statement through his lawyer that he took offense at the suggestion of any coercive, deceptive, or forceful behavior on my part, and had no knowledge of any such conduct by others. The BBC also interviewed dozens of other sources, including former household staff. Some of the men the BBC spoke to said they were misled about the nature of the events or not told sex was involved. Others said they understood the events would be sexual but not exactly what was expected of them. All were paid. Several told the BBC the middleman or other recruiters raised the possibility of modeling opportunities with A&F. David Bradbury, then 23 and an aspiring model, said that it was made clear to him that without performing oral sex on Mr. Jacobson, he would not be meeting A&F CEO Mr. Jeffries. It was like he was selling fame, and the price was compliance, Mr. Bradbury told the BBC. Mr. Bradbury said he later attended a party at Mr. Jeffries' mansion in the Hamptons in Long Island, where he met Mr. Jeffries and had sex with him. He said the secluded location and presence of Mr. Jeffries' personal staff, dressed in A&F uniforms, supervising events meant he didn't feel safe to say no, or, "I don't feel comfortable with this." After the BBC's initial investigation was published last year, A&F announced it was opening an independent investigation into the allegations raised. Like Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Smith, the brand has been trying to get the civil lawsuit against it dismissed, arguing it had no knowledge of the supposed sex trafficking venture led by its former CEO, which it has been accused of having funded. Earlier this year, a U.S. court ruled that A&F must cover the cost of Mike Jeffries' legal defense as he continues to fight the civil allegations of sex trafficking and rape. The judge ruled the allegations were tied to his corporate role after he sued the brand for refusing to pay his legal fees. The brand said it did not comment on legal matters. However, in its defense submitted to court, A&F said its current leadership team was previously unaware of the allegations until the BBC contacted it, adding the company abhors sexual abuse and condemns the alleged conduct by Mr. Jeffries and others. In 2014, Mr. Jeffries stepped down as CEO following declining sales and left with a retirement package valued at around $25 million, according to company filings at the time. Once one of America's highest-paid CEOs, he was a controversial figure who faced claims of discrimination against staff, concerns about his lavish expenses, and complaints about the unofficial influence of his life partner, Matthew Smith, inside A&F. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button.